All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dow. I think I need to actually come on here and explain the ministry somewhat. A lot of people simply don't understand. And they really, truly don't comprehend why we're all here in the first place. There's a Bible verse that said in 1 John 3:14, it says, "We know that we have passed from life to death because we love the brethren. And he that loveth not his brother abideth in death." Now, the ministry of Straightway, we are a brotherhood. No matter where we be at, north, south, east, or west, no matter where we are in this world. It's true that I do not follow the same radical racist opinions of others. I don't care who they are. I do not share the racist opinions of Messianics or the racist opinions and the segregation of the Messianics or the Hebrew roots or the Hebrew Israelites or Christians in itself. I mean, think about this. No matter where you go in this land, check it out. You go to this assembly or this church or whatever, the whites over here, the blacks over here, the Hispanics over here, the Koreans and Japanese over here, and everybody's segregated, and every single one of them claiming to love the Father, and yet and still, they hate each other. And then you have these groups simply because they practice collusion. They have things in their heart. You'll see the white Messianics. They will not fellowship with the Hebrew Israelites simply because, in this world you have spirit and then you have truth. But let me tell you this, the spirit and the truth is one and the same. Now, while doctrinally in this world you may people who have the truth and not the spirit, then you'll have equally people who have the truth and no spirit and the spirit and no truth. I know it sounds confusing, but that's just the way it is. I think most people get the administration of my delivery, pastor, mixed up. Sometimes you hear me talking on social, political, economics, religious perspectives, and point of views. And in each one of those areas, I'm wearing a different hat, meaning I'm speaking a certain way. When I'm ministering, preaching, teaching, pastoring, I'm wearing a different hat. I'm speaking a certain way. And that's why a lot of people, they get totally confused when they meet me in person and they see me outside the pulpit. They're literally appalled, flabbergasted. They see a quiet man. They see a meek man. Nobody's ever been the straight way or has ever been in any of my meetings. Ever see me run around hollering and screaming and barking out orders and reproving and rebuking all the time. I just simply am not that way. I don't do that. I'm actually a very peaceable man. I get along with everybody, especially the children. Children love me. And most people have never, ever saw that side of me because they try to judge me based on the words that I speak or I preach. Now, if I'm preaching from this word right here, I often ask people over and over again to prove what I'm saying. The proving it doesn't come, nor does its testing come from what you personally believe, your personal opinion, your theology, your ideology, or your book of the law. The proving must come from what I'm asking, which is the Bible. I mean, I read the Bible, I believe it, I actually live it and do it. Do I fall short at times? Sure I do. But the ideal is that if I fall short, I know who to go to in order to lift me up. I know who to go to in order to get things right. And then from there, I walk in the newness of life. There's one thing about Pastor that I would never be condemned from anything I've ever done in the past. But I am responsible for today because I can't change anything in the past, and neither can you. The charge is after we learn from whatever we do in life, is we walk in that maturity, we walk in that perfection, we walk in the newness of life. And when we do that, especially when you've been converted, the admonishment is strengthen the brother. And you can tell when someone has really, truly been converted in this life because their life is an open book. You'll be able to easily, clearly read and see what they're all about. And in their life would actually help those who are listening to be converted as well. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about strengthening people. Do I have to lift up my voice? Yes. Do I have to cry aloud? Yes. Do I have to spare not? Yes, I do. Do I reprove? I sure do. Do I rebuke? I sure do. Do I correct? Yes, I do. But also admonish, I exhort, I really truly do. And I encourage. I really truly. I do all those in a balance because I'm not trying to destroy anyone's soul. I've learned over the years, after you give people admonishments, first, second admonishment, you'll be better off following what the word says than trying to follow our heart, because our heart is wicked at times. And our heart will open up the door to allow people to misuse us and abuse us 20, 30, 40, 50 times because we're hoping that they will get it. And some people just simply don't get it, and they will never get it. The Bible says after the first and second admonition, reject. And I've learned that is the best way to do it. In other words, you put them out of your life, you go on down the road and be able to walk in the newness of life. And hopefully that somebody else will listen. I will hope that all of you out there that listen to Pastor Dow would understand at any given time what I'm doing. No, I'm not with a lot of these religious doctrines and ideologies and theologies that cause hate, separate, divide. They call everyone. I get called all kind of names. That's people's prerogative. But I grew up with thick skin, very thick skin. And I'm not concerned about people calling me names. I'm not concerned about people passing judgments or making judgments, because I would be the fool if I let their judgments affect me. So everything that I do, be it ministering, preaching, and teaching and stuff, I use it as an example to show you that if I can overcome, you can overcome. And the truth is, whether people like it or understand it or not, Jesus Christ is very real. Very, very real. And he's alive and he's well. And I am putting forth the gospel of the kingdom and the example of the kingdom that I hope that you can actually grasp and get. As a leader, I know I'm going to be hated. I'm going to be hated amongst the people because I choose to put forth what Yah's word says, as opposed to men's traditions, philosophies, and theologies. I actually got a very sour, bitter taste in my mouth concerning the lies of religious organizations and the lies of the different factions that has risen up that's not even wrote about in the Bible. For instance, Jews. I mean, you may see the translation or you may see the word Jews, but the truth is, Abraham was not a Jew. Isaac and Jacob was not a Jew. None of the Israelites that was delivered out of Mizraim or Egypt were Jews. You do see in translation that along about 2 Kings 16:6, that word appears. So that means we have to stick with the original. We're Israelites. See, we have to learn when people have used penmanship to deceive. So there's no such thing as a Jewish. There's a such thing as a Jewish religion, but there's no such thing as Jewish faith, because there's only one Lord, one faith, and one baptism, and that's what he says. And then you have this thing called Christianity that brand new, comes about in the 3rd century. Jesus wasn't a Christian. None of the prophets were Christians. None of the apostles were Christians. But then all of a sudden we got this religion on earth that tells us that we have to forsake the commandments and keep the day of the Sunday, and then we're accepted with him. No. My studies, I read the King James like you do. It doesn't say that. Then we have Islam. I don't see that word or even the religion even mentioned nowhere in the Bible. I mean, it's just utterly amazing. So, no, I don't agree with these tenets. I don't agree with Messianics and Hebrews, but I do agree with what the word says. When Jesus said he came to his own just happened to be the Israelites. And the Israelites are the people who have had perpetual slavery in their lives ever since the inception of them of a people. Think about this. Name me one group of people that was in the Egyptian slavery, the Assyrian slavery, the Babylonian slavery. They were also in the slavery of the Greeks and the Romans. They were also in the slavery of the Arabs, the the Trans-Sahara slave trade, which you don't hardly hear too much about, but they were enslaved to Arabs too. And the European slavery, called the transatlantic slave trade. There's only one people that fit that bill. Those are Yah's chosen people. Those are the ones that he said that they are above all people, and he loves them above all people, and he has not forgotten his people which he's foreknew. Now, if you choose to be part of Israel, you can. You can convert and be part of Israel. You got 1,000 other people out here with different perspectives and point of view would disagree. You're the one. You're going to know us by our fruit. That's all there is to it. And the fruit of the Spirit is, look, love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness, temperance. I mean, you go on. That's the fruit. And so when you see people ministering, preaching, teaching, the only judgment you can really base judgment on is by their fruit. And that's the reason why you see diversities of backgrounds and of people in the Straightway Truth ministry, because they judge by fruit. People know that when the Holy Spirit convicts your heart, when preaching comes, preaching is there. It's a proclamation. It's a herald. I'm proclaiming the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Everybody, I know everybody's not going to hear. And if they killed him, people are going to hate me. If they killed the apostles and hated them, I know they're going to hate me. But one thing I'll make sure they can't do is lay sin to my charge. Because I'm not going to let any man judge me. You've got things you call sin, but the Bible doesn't. So you have to be strong enough to submit to what the word says. Get thick skin concerning this world, because everybody thinks they're God. And then be at peace and walk in the newness of life. I hope y'all said something that would stimulate thought, that would actually give you the idea to maybe pause for a moment and consider what Pastor Dow says.